We're all fascinated by the idea of a cold case, that crime that has just stumped investigators for years, maybe even decades. But behind all the TV shows and podcasts, there's a really staggering reality. So today, we're going to dive into the tens of thousands of unsolved crimes in America, the incredible science that's breathing new life into them, and, well, the stubborn reasons why some mysteries might just never die.
Let's just start with a number it's honestly hard to wrap your head around. A report from the National Institute of Justice found that between 1980 and 2016, an estimated 242,000 homicides in the United States went unresolved. That's almost 250,000 people whose killers were never caught. 250,000 families left completely in the dark. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. It's a really bleak picture, and it sets the stage for the crisis we're exploring today.
And this slide, this is where you can see the problem really starting to take shape. Because this isn't just about old cases piling up, it's that our ability to solve new ones has been going down for decades. Back in 1975, law enforcement was solving nearly 80% of homicides. Fast forward to 2016, and that number had just plummeted to below 60%. And look, there are a ton of reasons for this, from a breakdown in community trust to just the changing nature of crime itself. This gap right here, this is where cold cases are born.
All right, so here's how we're going to break all of this down. We've just touched on the crisis. Next up, we'll see how the cold case became this huge cultural phenomenon, and then we'll get into the real-world playbook for actually solving them. After that, we're diving into the amazing science. We'll explore why some killers still get away, and then we'll finish on the promise that keeps investigators going.
Okay, so let's jump right into that second point, how the cold case became a thing we all talk about. That term wasn't always part of our everyday vocabulary. It really took one specific TV show to pull these forgotten stories out of dusty file cabinets and beam them right into our living rooms. It completely changed how we think about old unsolved crimes. When A&E premiered Cold Case Files back in 1999, it was a total game changer. The show's hook was brilliant and simple. Take a murder that had been unsolved for years and show exactly how brand new forensic science could finally crack it open. I mean, for millions of people, this was the first time they really saw the incredible potential of DNA. It proved that time wasn't this unbeatable enemy of justice anymore. And you can just see its staying power when you look at the timeline. This wasn't just some flash in the pan. It ran for years, got revived in 2017, and then they brought it back again in 2021. This incredible popularity just shows how obsessed we are with this idea that no case is ever truly hopeless and that science can give us that final answer. But, solving these cases takes a lot more than a television crew. In the real world, there's a detailed playbook. Because of this growing crisis, the National Institute of Justice got together a working group of the real experts. We're talking detectives, prosecutors, academics, to create a guide of best practices for police departments all over the country. And the NIJ guide lays out these 5 crucial steps. And this isn't just, bureaucratic jargon. Determining needs in scope, that means a department has to take a hard look and ask, okay, how many unsolved murders do we actually have? Is the evidence even still good? Designing the unit means you have to dedicate investigators to it, not just dump old cases on some random detective's desk. It's all about creating and implementing a focused team that can operate with a clear plan and find the support they need, whether it's federal grants or help from a local university, to see these tough cases through to the end. So why bother? Why pour resources into these old cases? Well, it's not just about emotional closure, though that's huge. The NIJ report points to 5 core reasons. Yeah, fulfilling victims' rights is number 1, but there's a massive public safety angle here. A lot of research shows that many violent offenders, they do it again. Solving one cold case can literally prevent future crimes. It also rebuilds public trust by showing a community that every single victim matters, no matter how much time has passed. This quote from the NIJ report, man, it just cuts right to the heart of it all. A crime isn't just a single moment in time. For the victim and for their family, that trauma gets worse every single day that justice is denied. This is the moral fire that drives these investigations. All right, now for the really cool part, the science. This is where the game has been completely transformed. We're going to look at the amazing technologies that are letting investigators reach back in time and turn these once unsolvable cases into actual, rock-solid convictions. First off, let's get on the same page. What is a cold case officially? According to the NIJ, it's not just any old dusty file. The key phrase here is potential to be solved. This means the case is asleep, but it's not dead.
because new tech or new information could wake it up at any moment.
And leading the charge, I mean, the absolute king of this tech revolution is CODIS. This is the FBI's giant national DNA database. Just to give you an idea, by 2018, it held almost 17 million DNA profiles from convicted offenders and even some arrestees. So an investigator can take a DNA sample from a crime scene that's decades old, upload it, and bam, get an instant hit that links it to a known person. It can turn a stone-cold case into a red-hot one with a suspect's name attached. But CODIS is just one tool in this incredible modern toolkit. You've got NamUs, a national database that connects missing persons cases with unidentified remains. Advanced fingerprint systems can find matches today that were impossible years ago. NIBIN does for shell casings what CODIS does for DNA, linking guns used in different crimes. And then there's the whole revolution of forensic genealogy, using public DNA sites to build out a family tree from crime scene DNA, which can lead investigators to a suspect's cousins, aunts, uncles, and eventually right to them. Okay, so we have all this amazing tech, right? Which leads to a huge question. Why do some of the most famous cases ever still stay unsolved? And there was no better or more frustrating example of this than the case that has haunted Northern California for over half a century, the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the question that has tormented investigators, journalists, and amateur detectives for more than 50 years. The Zodiac taunted everyone with letters and codes. He left evidence behind. So, with all our modern technology, why can't we just name him? Well, the answers are really, really complex. And here's the crazy part. It's a total paradox. The original investigators back in the 60s and 70s, they were limited by the tools they had. Handwriting analysis, for instance, can be super subjective. But today's investigators, they face the opposite problem. The evidence itself is the problem. DNA breaks down over time. Evidence collected 50 years ago wasn't handled with modern sterile protocols, so the risk that it was contaminated by an investigator or a lab tech is just incredibly high.
And this is the final brutal hurdle. Let's just pretend for a second. Imagine that tomorrow, investigators get a perfect DNA match from saliva on one of the Zodiac's envelope flaps. That's not the end of the story. A DNA match by itself isn't enough to convict someone. A prosecutor still has to build a whole case. But after 50 years, key witnesses are gone, memories are faded, original police files might be lost forever. Time, in the end, becomes the killer's best friend, making a successful prosecution almost impossible. But even with all those frustrations, despite the long odds and the evidence that's fading away, the commitment to solving these cases is stronger than ever. And it's a commitment that's really rooted in a fundamental promise that's made to every victim and every family left behind. As that National Institute of Justice report makes so clear, this work isn't just some optional extra. It is central to the entire mission of law enforcement. Every single solved case tells the public that their safety matters, that justice doesn't have an expiration date, and that their trust in the system is worth it. At the end of the day, it's about keeping a promise. So that leaves us with this one final massive question to think about. We have seen technology do things that honestly used to be science fiction. Genetic databases are getting bigger every single day. So as we look to the future, you just have to wonder, are we getting close to a day when the very concept of a cold case just becomes a thing of the past? A time when science guarantees that no killer, no matter how long they've been hiding, can ever truly get away with it forever?